Let's talk about 15 ways in which you can make happiness your reality starting today. Ask yourself, do you believe that happiness is something you're born with? Or does it come down to the decisions you make? It's not about having an easy life, it's about overcoming challenges without losing yourself. What you'll notice about the happy people in your life is that they've managed to develop and maintain certain qualities despite facing obstacles and disappointments. Stick around until the end of the video to hear what I've observed about happiness while living in Denmark. Let's begin. Tip number 1 is to have preferences in a way that you're not easily influenced. You have to stick to what you like, and that includes hobbies, thinking independently, or the general values. There are many situations in life, for example, when your friends want to drink and to party. If you're not someone like that, it takes a lot to stand up for yourself. It can be about your career choices or your choices of partners. And it's not easy when you have people putting you down, whether that's your boss, family, or friends. It really takes a lot to establish your preferences and stick to them. Now, that doesn't mean that you cannot be flexible, change your opinion over time when you have different experiences and reflect on your previous choices. It just means that once you establish your preferences, you have to be strong enough to insert them and to always have in mind that social media, marketing in general, and other people will try to influence your life, but you don't have to stay there and take it or listen to it and agree. Number 2, try things on your own terms. It can be trends, it's fun. There's nothing wrong with indulging a little bit into the trends that you like, of course, if it doesn't cost you too much financially. But ultimately, you have to be able to go back to yourself. In some cultures, the pressure to conform is stronger. In other situations, it could be the belief that if you're not a part of something, that makes you less interesting, less valuable, or that it prevents you from enjoying life. I can see that in the luxury lifestyle content, where the audience thinks, as soon as I can do that, then I'll be happy. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you also have to be able to enjoy your life on a daily basis. And that means trying new things, establishing new rituals. Because if you don't learn to try things on your own terms, life will push you in that direction, and it will be with much more pressure. It will make it much harder for you to embrace that experience. You have to find a way to expose yourself to new things without trying to copy what everyone else is doing just because something is popular at the moment. Tip number 3, have your own standards. Perfection doesn't mean always perfect. And what is perfect for one might not be for someone else. That can apply to anything, looks, results. You have to be able to understand the bigger picture, because someone's dream is another person's nightmare. For example, not everyone wants to be famous, to live in a huge city, or to even live abroad like I do. I've been living in Denmark for many years, and you cannot get triggered when other people talk about their standards. When that happens, it can come across as if from their point of view you're behind or you're not good enough, but in the end of the day, you determine what's good enough for you. Another tip is to be patient and stay calm. You don't need to be born with it. Trust me, I'm not a patient person. I have learned to be patient in certain areas that matter a lot to me. That's why I believe that patience can be solidified with experience. You get used to responding, not reacting, and sometimes it's still necessary to put someone in their place. But you can also let life do it. And don't waste your time and your patience with people that are just not worth it. Disengage. Tip number 5 is enthusiasm. If you're not enthusiastic about anything, no matter how big or small, I believe that you're going to have a really boring life. Big milestones are a good motivation, but there are few and far in between. It's the small everyday joys or the care that you show for something outside of yourself, whether that's people, pets. It doesn't have to be altruistic, even though of course that's nice, but when people are excited and passionate, that makes the world a better place. Those who come across them are going to feel that positive energy, and it doesn't have to be in a very obvious way of giving and receiving. It's more about being inspired. One sentence said by a stranger in a restaurant can give you the final push to do something that you have been postponing for years. It's very limiting to believe that there are only a few ways in which you can contribute to society. Don't underestimate your enthusiasm. The next tip on how to be more happy in 2026 and in general is self-sufficiency and standing on your own. I'm not talking just to introverts. It's about people who enjoy their own company. There will be times where you have to let go of certain people. You'll be tempted to seek validation, approval, permission. And that's a cycle that many find it hard to get out of. That's why some lean into people-pleasing. If you learn to stand on your own and to be happy in situations where the decisions you make others unhappy, then you're going to be much more stable and much more fulfilled. Number 7, you need to understand yourself. I'm talking about awareness, let go of things that no longer serve you. And also, you have to stand by your choices, because even if they are not the best, you shouldn't beat yourself down for something that you did 10 years ago or 5 years ago. The only thing that you can do now is do better tomorrow. I look back and I don't understand some of the behaviors, but that doesn't mean that I cannot have compassion for that version of myself, even though I'm not longer connected with it. It almost feels like it's another person who has done this. You no longer have the same emotions or the same thought patterns. And that's why you need to understand yourself. And even in the situations where you cannot, you understand yourself better now, and you're confident enough to know that you're not going to make the same mistakes in the future. Number 8 is perseverance. You have to get up. It can take longer or shorter, but you have to always rise. Trust yourself, take action, and forgive yourself. Connect with something. It could be nature or books that you can turn to for comfort, for reflection, that is going to drive you forward. If you failed, you can become curious about other ways. I'm going to give an example. Let's say you've been trying to find a job in a certain field, and maybe it hasn't worked out for you, or it has, but then time and time again you are pushed out. Instead of thinking that you're a failure or that you are trying the same thing over and over again without result, you can just become curious about more untraditional ways. You don't have to be self-employed or you start your own business if that's not what you want to do, but you can try part-time, you can try to work for 2 different companies and just explore options. Tell the people around you, not just everyone, but the people who are close to you and you know they have good intentions. You'll be surprised how it can come from a completely random place, and the missing link between where you are and where you want to go is just one call away or one conversation away. I've heard from people in my family that they're surprised how ambitious I am, even though they know that I'm someone who has a lot of plans for their future. And it's not that I'm not ambitious, but it's more about the principle. Of course, I'm going to get up after things don't go my way. Like, what's the alternative? I'm not going to live in the past based on past successes. I'm not going to give up on my future. I'm not doing it for others to prove something to anybody. It just feels like it's the only thing that it's left for me to do. To get up, move forward, and try better. Try next time. Some disappointments take longer to recover from, especially if the stakes are high and you've put your everything into that job, into that project. So that's why it's okay to take a break, maybe to travel. Over time, you're going to build a rapport with yourself that you have risen up in many situations where others would have stayed down. Every time you have doubt, every time when you're tired and you don't feel like getting up, knowing that you have done it again and again is going to give you that confidence and that drive. And sometimes all it takes is one more try, because you don't know if the best job or the best person for you, your breakthrough, is right around the corner. The 9th way to be more happy is to be more open-minded and expose yourself to different points of view. You don't have to travel and always change an environment to be around people who are not your usual social circle. You can read books and listen to podcasts where people discuss their conflicting beliefs. Sometimes it's actually a person you like. You have a lot of points that you agree on, but maybe not this particular thing. And it's really interesting to listen to that person and why they share that particular belief. You're going to find that it comes from their childhood or from their life experience. So you're going to learn to not take things so personal, to not get into arguments. Someone disagreeing with you and your values doesn't mean that you're wrong or that they're wrong. In the end of the day, nobody can tell another person how to live their life. Number 10 is flexibility, because I've realized that a lot of people who have given up on the way to their dream have a very fixed idea how it should happen, or they feel like something is beneath them. In other words, they're not ready to do what it takes. It's okay to have plans, to have expectations. I'm also someone who is over-controlling, wants to control the outcome. But you have to leave room for luck, for surprises, for changes. Some of the actions you take don't have to reflect your value as a person. And if you're too rigid, that can close doors that may lead to unexpected fortune. Number 11 is underrated, and I know it's getting harder and harder with all this technology that's around us. We can look into the lives of everyone, but mind your business. How will you improve yourself in your life if you're always concerned about someone else? Yes, you can listen and you can watch in order to learn from their mistakes, But don't be nosy. Focus on yourself. Once you expose yourself to too many videos, too many opinions, it just becomes too much. Instead of taking action, you're going to develop some form of procrastination. You're going to overthink things that could be easily solved. Don't be so dependent from information from the outside to solve every single problem or to compare yourself. Tip number 12 is charisma, living in the moment. We always feel special in the presence of someone who has their undivided attention focused on us. It's a sign that they can listen without being pulled into their past experiences, and it also shows that they are taking the opportunity to get to know someone else for real and not in a reactive way. Living in the moment is also going to make you less anxious. Learn to control your thoughts. For example, if something is happening and it's reminding you of situations that you've been through before, the worst thing you can do is spiral and think to yourself, yes, here it is, it's repeating again. I'm never going to get out of this pattern of behavior. You have to stop and realize, I have ways of dealing with that, but let me consider it for what it is right now. The challenge may be similar, or the person you're dealing with may be similar, but they are not the same. So don't try to react or behave like your old self. Try something new, even if it's slightly different. Suggestion number 13 on how you can be happier is positivity. Not a toxic one, but a fundamental trust in life. You have a choice how you want to see life and what comes with it, as something meaningful that gives you hope, or as something discouraging and pointless. And that will determine a lot of the moves you make. The intentions behind your actions matter, and if you take decisions from a place of scarcity mindset and fear, it's going to show. My grandfather was the most positive person I've ever known. He had some health challenges, but if you ask him, how are you? He would always say, I'm doing great. And it would take a lot for him to admit that something is wrong, which didn't come from toxic positivity. It came from a genuine place. He really believed that as long as he is smiling, as long as he is dedicated to being in a good mood, in a good physical condition, then that's what's going to happen. I was an adult when I found out for the first time that he had some personal tragedy, someone very close to him in his family that he lost. The circumstances around that were really dark and painful, and that impressed me even more regarding the positivity and the amazing light energy he brings into the lives of everyone around him. He's gone now, but every time someone tells me that I look like a happy person, I always think of him. He's a real inspiration. Number 14, bet on yourself. If you've been doing something the traditional way and then time and time again you were pushed to the side, not accepted in that environment, it's probably time to bet on yourself. You're going to receive certain signs. For example, when you're relaxed, or you're supposed to suggest a name for a new product or a new service, and you make your suggestions from a happy place, you're going to notice that they're going to be chosen among many others, among thousands of others. If you have not been betting on yourself, or you've been betting on other people, other businesses, and it hasn't been working out that well for you, maybe it's time to lean in what you really enjoy. Do it, because even though that path might be difficult, it's better than thinking, what if? And the final point I'm going to make, number 15, is to give back somehow. It can be with time, money, energy, or just good thoughts. Projecting this hope and inspiration into the world is a way of giving back. Once you start losing people that you were close with, you realize the big impact that they had on your life and on the person that you have become. But that's even one more reason to give back, because you never know the real impact that you're going to have on someone. It may change their life forever, even if you're not there anymore. There are many forms of legacy if you care about that, and I believe that this is one of them. And if you think that it's not significant enough, just think about that. If you impact someone, even if you don't have kids, maybe they will pass it on to their children or to someone around them. This reflection, this emotion, it's going to stay in the world long after you're gone. It may be attached to your name for a while, and later it may fade away, but it doesn't really matter. You have lived an authentic life, and that's a kind of happiness that no one can take away from you. And now for those of you who have stayed until the end of the video and are curious about Denmark, one of the happiest countries in the world, let me share my reflections. In my opinion, those who get disappointed are people who have had very unrealistic expectations. Most things here are set up in a way that encourages everyone to be stable, secure, to feel some form of justice or at least balance in their everyday life and in other aspects like their career. But I think that a mistake that many people make is they believe that, okay, that's a country that's very happy, so as soon as I move in there, I'm going to be happy as well. We have to consider that happiness is a very individual thing. All of the tips that I mentioned above, you don't have to adopt all of them, just the ones that resonate with you. And it's the same with Denmark. If you come here and you believe that because of this general happiness or the idea of happiness, everything that happens to you here is going to resonate with you, you're going to be disappointed, for sure. One of the common complaints that I hear is from people saying that Danish people are not welcoming, it's very hard to integrate in their social circle, and while a part of that might be true, there are other cultures that are more open in a way. If you arrive as a newcomer, they might be more eager to show you around or to introduce you. That's not the case in Denmark, unless you're already a part of a certain group, for example, at your work, or you sign up for a hobby or activity with others. You're not going to find that kind of connection on the street with random strangers. But that shouldn't discourage you, because once you get to know the people here, you'll find that they're really open to new ideas. They have traveled a lot. They like to try different kinds of food. They're interested in other cultures. And in the end of the day, they're human too. They have their own problems. It may be difficult to imagine if you're coming from a country that's less fortunate. Those kinds of problems might come across to you as rich people problems, but they're still valid. If you discredit that, if you don't put effort into understanding the people here, you're not going to be happy. Also, if you're too set on a particular career and you're not flexible, that's not going to go well for you. There are a lot of educated people in Denmark and also a lot of foreigners that come and get their education here. But if you believe that you are owed a job, then Denmark is not for you. You have to be flexible, you have to learn the language, you have to get to know the society. It might be necessary to start from scratch or to transition from one career to another, and there's nothing shameful about that. But if you're someone who is very set in their ways, you're going to become angry, impatient, and you might even leave Denmark, which is what many international people have done. But if you ask me, are people in Denmark happy, and that includes the Danes and the internationals, I would say yes, but not because they have no challenges. It's mostly because they're grateful for what they have and they appreciate the standard of living. It may sound a little bit like a cliche, but there's some truth to that. Life is what you make it, and that it's also valid for places where most things are going right. You can be rich, successful, but still have health problems or family problems or other kinds of difficulties. And there's no magical place where you can go and be happy if you're not happy on the inside. I have shared all these tips because I want to make you realize that a big part of your happiness is in your hands. Things that you have no control over may happen and circumstances can change, but you don't have to carry that heaviness or disappointment inside of you. Happiness starts with knowing yourself and cultivating a more balanced outlook on life, no matter where you choose to be. Please share in the comments what surprised you the most about your own ways of finding happiness. Greetings from Denmark, and see you in the next video.